All right, well, good morning. Welcome to our morning devotions. We're at episode 365. We're in Ezra chapter 4, and I entitled this Adversity, History, and the Interruption of the Rebuilding of the Temple. And this is very interesting because essentially what happens is, first of all, you want those that don't have really any vested interest in the rebuilding of the temple. They want to contribute. They want to help build it. And they're told, no, we don't want you guys to have any part of it. And then their true colors come out. They draft a letter back to Persia. And after it's read, oh, this letter, too, is historically accurate because of the rebellion in the past. So when they get the letter in Persia, then they read it, and then they send a note back to stop building the temple. And there's also a reference here to rebuilding the wall, and they either do begin a little bit of rebuilding the wall, even though this doesn't really occur until the time of Nehemiah, or it's just a straight up lie because the rebuilding of the law, it was not within the commission of rebuilding the temple. So that has been rendered a couple of ways. Either they just lied to give their letter a little bit more emphasis, or they were in a small measure beginning to rebuild the wall. So let's look at Ezra chapter 4. It's just interesting material. And what's going to happen here, what strikes me in this chapter, is that they are going to send a letter back to Persia that's going to remind the king about how corrupt the kings of Israel have been and how they have rebelled. It's a rebellious city, which it has been. That is their history. And if you allow them, and the case they're making is if you allow them to rebuild the city, they're just going to rebel against you as well, because it's in their nature to rebel. And I ask you, is it in the nature of Israel to rebel? They did all through the wilderness wandering. We had some success under Joshua, but even that was not complete. I mean, there is an intrinsic element of rebellion, what we see in the nation of Israel. And as soon as I say that, it's still there, this rebellion against God. I was just talking to my grandson just a few minutes ago about this rebellion, but they are God's chosen people because of the covenant God made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so they are still the apple of his eye, even though they have been historically rebellious. And that's the case they make. It's a true case. And based on that, the king in Persia says you got to stop doing whatever you're doing there in Israel. So let's just look at the text. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord God of Israel, so the word is out now, then they came to Zerubbabel, who is in charge of this, and to the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, let us build with you. When you know that the people that are against you want to help you, you say no, because all they're there to do is to ruin you. I mean, to make sure it doesn't happen. They're going to be, like, so to speak, the broken cog. I mean, you do not want to become Confederate. You might say, well, there's more hands to get it done. But the fact is their heart's not in it, and they are your adversaries, so they're going to respond accordingly. He said, but they're saying, let us help you. Let us help you. So a lot of sometimes when people say, let us help you, you have to say, that's okay, we got it. That's what they're going to do here. And it said, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do, which is not true. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, or Ashur, which brought us up hither. That is, when the Assyrians, what they did a little differently than the Babylonians is the Babylonians just took the nation and deported them and made them all Babylonian. They assimilated into the Babylonian culture. What the Assyrians did is they moved people into other cultures. They didn't bring them all to Assyria and made them Assyrian, but they would bring all the other nations that they had conquered and they would relocate them. So your neighbor worshipped another god, your neighbor spoke another language, your neighbor had other kind of national customs. And it was that discontinuity between people as they moved them in together that kept that group or that region from rebelling. And essentially, that is where you get Samaritans, because you get an intermarriage between other groups, other nations that were brought into Israel, and then whatever Israelis were left behind intermarrying. And so that's where you get Samaria. That's where you get the Samaritans, and why they were hated by these Jews that wanted to see your Jewish lineage as far as you could go back to Abraham. All right? That's the difference. The Babylonians assimilated you into the Babylonian culture, and the Assyrians just mixed you in with another culture, and in that way it prevented rebellion from happening. These folks are part of that mixture because they're in the north, and this in 722 BC, it's been 100 plus years, 150 years since Samaria has been destroyed. Plus 70, I got to add, because they've been in captivity for 70 years. So they're entrenched in this, is what I'm saying. And it's not true. They're not worshiping Jehovah. They might be worshiping some flavor of it. But the only way to worship Jehovah, the true way, would have been at the temple. I mean, there's other, they engaged in other means. We know Daniel, who could not get to the temple, he opened his windows and prayed. But this is just a means of weaseling your way in, all right, to work with those that are there to do the will of God under the direction of Cyrus. It said, and then in verse 3, but Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, Ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our God, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord God of Israel, as King Cyrus the king of Persia hath commanded us. That is, we're going to do what we're commissioned to do. And then it says in verse 4, Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building. Now, weaken the hands and troubled them in building is just they're interfering in any way, discouraging, causing problems. All right, they're weak in their hands. They did whatever they could to get them to stop. That is, it's going to be tough enough doing what they were doing in the environment that we're in. And now you have the people in the land that are doing everything they can to discourage you and to put you down and to prevent the building of the temple. This is just an action on their part to stop this. So they keep going. And hired counselors against them. That is, they hired people. That is, when you hire somebody, these are those that you have up in Washington. They're lobbyists, right? And they go up there and they lobby for a particular thing. Well, here they're paying lobbyists to lobby against the temple building program. All right, that's what they're doing. They need somebody to represent them, to stand against Israel in the royal authority. So they hire people to do this. It's when I say it's adversity at every front. It's adversity on the home front. It's an adversity back where they were commissioned to do this. And it said, and they hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius king of Persia. That is, through the whole time, they have hired lobbyists to show how Israel should not be engaged in this. All right. For those that are taking notes, I'll just give you the list of the Persian kings here. Cyrus is the first. Then you have Cambyses, whose name is also Ahasuerus. All right. It's not uncommon to have two names of these Persian kings. So Cyrus is first. His son is Cambyses, who's also known as Ahasuerus. Then you have Smerdis. He's called Smerdis the magician. I think he only reigned, if I remember, about 7 months. He was never, they call him the magician because he was never really confirmed as a king of Persia. He was like, and some call him pseudo Smerdis. But there was another king in there, and then you have Darius. And that might not be all of them, but those are the four that are most prominent. All right, so you got Cyrus, Cambyses, Smerdis, and Darius, of which Smerdis is kind of just, he weaseled his way in. So from Cyrus all the way to Darius, all during these reigns of these Persian kings, they are lobbying against this going on in Israel. And then in verse 6, and in the reign of Ahasuerus, now this is Cambyses, okay, this is the son of Cyrus, and in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him in an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. So we're going to get an indictment written by these people that live in Palestine at this time in the ancient Near East, and they are going to write a document to the king, and they want the king to know what's going on here. This is they got to get this stopped. And it says, and in the days of, in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes, which is just another name for Cambyses, I should have said that, wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabiel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, the king of Persia. And the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. So it was written in the native language of the region. All right. They're sending it back to Persia. And Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, in this sort. So now you have these people that inhabit the land that Israel's gone back to, and they are writing a formal letter back to the king, all right, because of the building of the temple and the claim that they're rebuilding the walls. So they're weakening their hands. They're doing everything they can. They've got lobbyists in place. Now they're writing this letter, all right. When you want to do the right thing, expect every bit of opposition to come out of the woodwork. All right, and I can't go through all the lists, but here we have 3 specific things. It just talks about troubling them, weakening their hands, the people of Judah, about hiring lobbyists, and you get other people on your side to stand against you, and then this formal letter. I mean, just expect everything to happen. The only way that you would keep going is if you believe this is really the right thing, and they're going to lean on the truth that God, through Cyrus, commissioned this work. And so they're on the right track. But at the end of this, you're going to see that they have to stop, all right, because of the claims that are made, because the claims against them historically are true. That's the problem. So it keeps going. It said in verse 8, Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes as the king in this sort. Then wrote Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of his companions, the Dinaites, the Apharsashites, the Tarphilites, the Aphrasites, the Archavites, the Babylonians, the Susankites, the Dehathites, and the Elamites, which would have been all the local people. Everybody is siding against Israel. It sounds like where we are today. Everybody there is siding against Israel. Keep this in mind. The fact that Israel still exists as a nation is by the hand of God, because here we're all the way back in the time of BC. They're trying to get the temple built, all right? They're still a province of Persia. They have a commission, but that doesn't mean that the people that live in the region they still hate them. They don't want the temple built. They don't want Jerusalem rebuilt. And they're doing everything they can to stop it. But it's there today by the grace of God. Don't forget this. These things that they're up against here should have been enough just to short circuit it and bring it to an end. And it does temporarily. But not, as we see it from the New Testament way, when we look back, we see that God's hand is still on them in spite of all of this. They are God's chosen people. It goes on in verse 10. And the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asnapper brought over. Now this is the Assyrians. He's going all the way back to the Assyrians. That all these other nations that Asnapper brought over and sit in the cities of Samaria, and the rest that are on this side of the river. That is the Euphrates, the west side of the river Euphrates. This side of the river, and at such a time. That is, this verse demonstrates what I described about what the Assyrians did. All these people were brought into the ancient Near East, in Samaria, what was Israel in the north, and they're the ones that don't want Israel back. All right. There's all kinds of reasons, because it may be in the back of their mind, although it doesn't say that, that all that property belongs to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to Israel. I mean, but now they're occupying land they have come in, and they don't belong there. All right. They don't belong in the land. They have come into a property that belongs to somebody else, and they don't want the real owner to come back. Now, we're not reading that, but that has to be in the back of people's mind, because they know the land belongs to Israel. They know it does. All right. And it says that the Assyrians brought them all in. That is, they're not indigenous to that land. All right. These folks are where they don't belong. And it says, verse 11, and I don't know. This is the copy of the letter, but let's see. I'm about halfway. Here it is. This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king. Thy servants, the men on this side of the river, which is just a phrase they use. It's here in the Hebrew. This side of the river just means on the west side of the Euphrates, because that is a natural dividing boundary. Okay, the east is on the east side of the Euphrates. On this side of the river is west of the Euphrates, which includes Israel. Be it known unto the king that the Jews which come up from thee to us come unto Jerusalem. And here it is, building the rebellious and bad city, and have set up the walls thereof, and joined the foundations. Now, I don't think that's true. All right, it doesn't say that. We saw how much time it takes just to build the temple, and as I've been setting this up, and when Nehemiah gets there about 13 years later, there's not one stone upon another. So I think this is just a straight up lie that the Bible records on the part of these people that are claiming that Jerusalem is being rebuilt. We only have 50,000 people. They're trying to get the temple built. I don't believe the wall is being rebuilt at all. But see, that would speak to a king when you think you're going to rebuild the capital city, which was a fortress. We know it's a fortress, which would be an anchor point to establish a nation. You build your capital again, which is this walled fortress, the city of Jerusalem. I don't believe that this is happening, but this is the claim that they're making in the letter. It said, and they're calling it a rebellious and bad city. And we've read enough about the kings of Judah and Israel, especially, to realize that they rebel. They rebel against everybody, okay? Not all of them. In Judah, there's been good kings, but so many of them were just really bad kings, all right? So that's what they're referring to. Be it known now unto the king that if the city is builded and the walls be up again, then they will not pay toll. That is, once you get the city rebuilt, they're not going to pay their tax to you anymore. Okay, so you're not going to be able to get the toll, tribute, and custom, and so thou shalt damage the revenue of the kings. That is, if you let them rebuild, they're not going to be a resource. And then they have these different categories of toll, tribute, and custom. I didn't look up each individual one, but essentially what it means is if you're living in a province of Persia, then you have to pay a tax back to the capital. All right, that's what it means. From where you are, you got to fill our coffers. But if they rebel against you once the city gets built, you're never going to get any income from these folks. So there's this issue of rebuilding the temple or rebuilding the wall, which I don't think is happening, but undoubtedly, this is something they anticipate because in just a few years they're going to. All right, that the temple's there, and if the temple's there, once the temple's there, I mean, they're going to rebuild the city, which is this fortress, and once that happens, you're not going to get any income out of this region. It goes on. Now, because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king. These guys, when you read something, I mean, you just got to read it with a grain of salt, right? Because they're talking like they are just loyal to the Persian king. We're buddies. You, the Persian king and us, we're just like this. And we saw what was happening here, and it was our duty, O king, to report this to you. That's what this is about. All right, is if we enjoy being under the the heel of the Persian rule. All right, it's we have maintenance from the king's palace. That is, it's our responsibility to speak up. All right, and it was not meet. It was not fitting for us to see the king's dishonor, because once this happened, dishonor is coming your way. So we're just going to report it to you, and then that's verse 15, verse 14. I'll I'll just stop there. All right. What is today? Is today Friday? Yeah. All right. So this will be my last devotions. As you can see, I'm at my son's, and but Lord willing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a message out in the morning. We're going to be very, very busy, but we'll see about tomorrow. And Lord willing, I think I got this set up effectively. Lord willing, I'll see everybody. Lord willing, I'll see everybody again on Monday, and we'll pick up this amazing letter that's being sent to Artaxerxes, trying to get the children of Israel that are back in Jerusalem rebuilding the temple to stop what they're doing. All right? Okay. Well, the Lord bless you. You have a great day. All right. And Lord willing, I'll see you. Okay. Bye.